daily driver is the machine that you are using when you first get to work, or if you're a homekeeper, husband or wife, the machine that you use in order to interact with either the home automation or your social media. This could be any one of a number of different devices. It could be a portable, like an iPad. It could be a mobile phone. It could be a laptop. It could be a desktop. It could be something like as simple as a Roku, or some people live with things as simple as watches. So a daily driver selection is the main point that you're going to be interacting with technology on a daily basis most often. There's lots of different options, as I referred to, and my personal opinion, in the not too distant future, things are going to coalesce to these large screens that we're all putting in our houses being the primary driver of the house, whether that's connected to a game console or more likely to something like either an Amazon Fire Stick or a Google Chromecast. And then we'll have integration to all of our web apps through that. The ongoing debate about whether or not the mobile device market will overtake fixed devices like screens, computers, is still something that is undecided. My personal opinion is that things will coalesce around the large screens that we're all putting in our houses that are becoming increasingly less expensive. It just makes sense. All you need is a wireless keyboard, some kind of pointing device that's wireless, also connected to a small stick in the back of a TV, and then you have a fully functioning web app enabled interface to technology, social media, Google Docs, Office Online, whatever else you needed. Why go with a small screen on a laptop when you could have a big, large 70-inch TV that's hung over your fireplace mantle? So I think the one thing that is stopping that now is that although the technology is able to do it, if you took a Chromecast and had a wireless keyboard and mouse connected to it, and a simple browser, you should be able to interact with all of your web apps. I personally think there is a conscious decision by the technology vendors to hold off on doing so, because if they made that easily accessible, PC sales would evaporate very quickly as people move to a $50 solution in replace of a $1,200 computer sitting in their house. Microsoft Windows would likely suffer market share erosion, and Apple would have a very difficult time selling a computer when their Apple TV could provide the same functionality in homes for a fraction of the price. Currently, Apple TVs are going for about $150, $200, depending on the model you choose. Anyway, we're not there yet. So the question is, what do we do for daily drivers? The options as are currently available, which most people select, is either disconnect from fixed screens and go with mobile only. The disadvantage is that the lack of features on mobile devices is not the same as what you get with a fixed device. Mobile device applications generally have smaller feature sets, but you gain the ability of having it carried with you wherever you are, in your car, in the grocery store, out shopping, giving you directions and whatnot. Fixed screens have higher feature sets, but cost more. And also, you can't take them into your car with you, obviously. Most people have adopted combination strategies for their daily drivers. For me, I do carry around a phone that helps me get around. I follow the blue dot whenever I'm in my car and look to see who's calling and text messages all off my phone. But I also have a PC that I sit down in front of in order to interact with my social media. Generally, I don't interact with social media on my phone, but that's just me. But anyway, a couple of options that everyone's aware of is a laptop running Microsoft Windows or a laptop running Mac OS, two most common solutions. What most people don't know is that Mac OS is actually based on Linux. The Linux operating system started in the mid-1990s, and it was a way to try to simplify the Unix operating system and make it more available to smaller computers that were becoming more popular during that time. Nowadays, Linux has become very mature, and although it has a very small portion of the overall operating system for daily driver use, it is growing. Here is a branch tree of the current distributions of Linux. And as you can see, over the years, it has grown to be absolutely staggering. Basically, anyone who is unhappy with a certain branch of Linux can go and make their own distribution and get another fork added to the tree. That's basically how it works. It's a free community, and all it takes is someone with a gripe and a thought of doing something better, and then they can create their own distribution. The two most common forms of Linux are the Red Hat based distributions and the Debian or Debian based distributions. Debian and Debian, there's an ongoing debate about how it's actually pronounced. I actually vacillate between the two pronunciations. You could call it what you wish. Has been an ongoing debate within the Linux community for going on 2 decades. At one point, there was something called a LAMP stack, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP, which was really making Debian-based systems the de facto default for web applications running on servers and virtual machines. And Debian became very popular and still is today, Debian-based distributions. Red Hat focused on enterprise servers and stability. And there's multiple branches among Red Hat, which works to their favor because they have some measure of control over what happens within their distribution tree. They are one of the few paid-for Linux operating systems. What you get for with Red Hat subscriptions is the backing of many engineers who are vetting the technologies that they're putting in their operating systems. Little known fact, you can actually run Red Hat for free. All you need to do is sign up for a developer account, and I'll go over that in a separate video. Debian-based systems are becoming increasingly popular for Linux in-home use. In fact, the most popular in-home use Linux platform, which is called Ubuntu, made by a company called Canonical, is got a Linux based on Debian. So those are the options for daily drivers now as far as home computers go. We have what we call Wintel, Windows and Intel solutions running in either desktop form factor or laptop form factor. We've got Macintosh or Mac OS running on Apple hardware, which is Linux based, or you have free Linux running on any one of a number of different hardwares. It doesn't really run very well. Like if you tried to take Mac OS off Apple hardware and put Linux on, that doesn't work very well. But basically any other form that you would normally run Windows on, you can take Windows off and you can put Linux on. And the nice thing is that by and large it's virus free, and the operating system doesn't cost anything. You can continually get updates. So those are the options for the daily drivers. My personal daily driver is a Red Hat Linux 8.4 HP laptop. That's what I use for my daily driver. Reason being that works for me is that all I need to do is access the internet, and nice thing about Red Hat, you can run Google Chrome, not the Chromium, but the actual Google Chrome on it. And I could access my Google Docs, I could access my social media, look at my bank account, look at my calendar, look at my to-do items, and more or less that's all I need. I'm not a big PC gamer or try to do things creatively with store-bought applications. So for me, just running Linux on a laptop is sufficient. Whether or not that's right for you or not is a choice that you need to make for yourselves. And really, it boils down to whether or not you're comfortable running your own operating system, which is basically what it takes if you're going to be running Linux. It's actually not as complicated as it sounds. Or if you want to buy if you want to pay for an operating system through Apple or Microsoft. That's really the question. I don't like paying for operating systems. I just don't think I should have to. And technology, I like to leverage for my own benefit. So if I can get away by leveraging some form of technology and spending less, generally that's the path I take unless there's a good reason not to. So I've been running Linux as my daily driver for a very long time. We'll talk about the Linux branch in a later video.